Right then, in this video we take a detailed look at some 1970s O&Ks, modernised in the 90s by a crap generic, modernised in 2011 by Otis. So then, we all know where these lifts are. I don't even need to say. Last time I explored this building I forgot to take a proper look at these lifts, so let's now take a full, proper, detailed look at them. Let's go. I never got to see these lifts before the 90s mod because I never went here before then, which is a shame because they must have been really awesome. After the 90s generic mod, these lifts had really bad logic. They'd regularly get confused with what floor they were on, and often the announcement would go into a loop. Store level and exit. Store level and exit. Store level and exit.
Store level and exit. Store level and exit. Store level and exit.
And often the lifts would just completely jam and refuse to move. The lifts were full of character. They were so grotty. They were so awesome. And after the Otis mod, they were never the same. These lifts go from store level, then 10 centimeters higher than store level and open up on the other side. This market, and they haven't stopped there for over 20 years. Then after that, next floor up is the restaurant, which is also locked off, but you can walk up the stairs and call the lifts there. Then after that's floors 1 and 2, then floors 3 and 4, which are now locked off. Then after that is the epic, spooky, abandoned levels 5 and 6. So then, now let's take a detailed look at these lifts. And the first most noticeable thing about these lifts is that they now use the Otis Gen 2 belt cabling system, which is really interesting. But what is really noticeably unusual about these lifts, which is that these have 2-to-1 cabling, which is standard for the Otis belt cabling system, which goes from the top of the lift shaft down through counterweight, up through a motor, down through the lift, then back up top of the lift shaft. And usually 2-to-1 cabling system usually has 2 separate pulley wheels on the lift, so the cables go down through one pulley wheel one side of the lift, across to the other side of the lift, then up the pulley wheel on the other side, then back up to the top of the lift shaft. And these pulley wheels can either be on top of the lift or underneath the lift. But what is really weird about this lift is that it just has one central pulley wheel. There's one wheel where the cables go around right in the middle of the lift. I've never seen anything like it. It is so weird. And it's quite odd seeing this lift with the Gen 2 belt cables. And as far as I know, this lift still has the original O&K motors, although I can't definitely be sure of this. But as far as I know, when Otis modernised this lift, they completely stripped down the motors, completely disassembled the motors into parts, then rebuilt the motors into the same motor but completely reconditioned. And now, another really interesting thing about these lifts which really stands out is this: look how well built the chassis is. This is a really strong, long-lasting chassis, really typical for sort of lifts built from the 30s to the 70s. Lifts built nowadays are simply not built with chassis this well built. It's really nice to see a really nice old-fashioned clunky heavy-duty lift like this. And now, another interesting thing about these lifts is they now use variable frequency, and now we use Otis' really nice intelligent levelling system, where the lift just slows down from full speed really nicely to almost stopping perfectly in the right place. Then for the last little bit of the journey, the lift moves at a really slow speed. Now this is slightly different to other lifts, such as the very first lifts to have this sort of intelligent levelling were Mitsubishi, Fujitec and Schindler in the 80s, and these lifts are really clever because they just didn't have a levelling speed at all. The lift would go all the way from full speed, perfectly slowing down until it stopped with not a single levelling speed. Although Otis Gen 2s and lifts that have been modernised by Otis do almost do this, they don't quite, because they slow down to a very slow speed, then do the last bit really slowly. But the really annoying thing about Otis Gen 2 and lifts modernised by Otis is that they don't open the doors until the lift's completely stopped, which is so annoying. Unlike the Cone EcoDisc, which these do open doors so it stops, which is much better. And now, sit back and relax and enjoy this full speed ride on top of these really nice 1970s, okay, modernised in the 90s by Generic, modernised in 2011 by Otis lifts. Let's go.
one.
Do this one, Mum.
Yeah, I think so. As far as I know, cheers. Yeah, it's that one, isn't it?
And now, these lifts only go as far as floor 2 now in normal service. These lifts don't go any higher because all of the floors above floor 2 are locked off. But floors 5 and 6 are even more than locked off because as well as being locked off inside the lift, they're also locked off outside, so you can't even call the lifts on floor 5 and 6. But as far as I can tell, these floors have been completely removed from the logic. The floors just don't even exist anymore, which is really weird that I'd do that. And another really interesting thing is they've also removed the door rollers on the outer doors on floors 5 and 6. So if for some reason a lift did manage to go up there, just the inner doors would open and the outer doors wouldn't open, so that most people wouldn't actually bother to manually release the door, and that's to stop people going out there because floors 5 and 6 are totally abandoned. They don't want anyone going up there, but you can easily drive the lifts up there from on top of the lift. Back when these lifts had the generic logic after the 90s mod, I wouldn't have trusted the lifts doing this because they get confused with what floor they're on all the time, and I'd be a bit worried they might just completely mess up, especially if you were tempted to put them back onto automatic up on floors 5 and 6. The lift would just get completely confused and messed up. Although now I've been modernised by Otis, that's not too much of a problem since Otis logic's really reliable. But despite saying this, I still didn't put a lift back onto automatic up on floors 5 and 6 just in case I had some weird problem. But anyway, we can still put lifts onto manual and drive them up there. Let's go! And here I am up on the epic abandoned floor 6. So then, if you'd like to see me urban exploring these up for abandoned levels 5 and 6, you can see the previous video I did here. And that is pretty much the end of this video. And this video was filmed on the last day this place was open. And that's it. This place is now closed. The end.